a seizure last night.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I seem to get focals like 3 nights in a row or 2 nights in a row, and then I don't have them for a couple of nights. It seems to be a cycle I'm going through,
Ooh, sorry
but
to
it's
hear
mostly
that.
focals.
I just had one today too.
I can't wait to get back to California.
Hi, Diane.
Hi. Hi. Happy to be here. It's my first time, although I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, we usually
Welcome.
start with what are you taking? When was your last seizure? And how long have you been diagnosed?
I was diagnosed November of 2023. I woke up in the hospital having had my first tonic-clonic. And I take lamotrigine twice a day, and I had an absence seizure yesterday and one trying to come in this morning. Those are pretty regular for me, though. I versus my tonic-clonics. My last tonic-clonic was in November of last year, so almost 6 months now. Oh, our cat. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. Give me one moment. He's not doing well. He's throwing up. Does look like a hairball. You okay?
What happened?
Not much. How you doing?
Oh,
All right. How you guys
hey,
doing?
sorry. Thank you. Yeah, I think he's okay. He just had I think it's a hairball. Yes, it sounds like a hairball. Oh gosh, I didn't realize I still have the volume up.
No,
was
I was
all
just
right.
guessing. I was just guessing over here, hoping Kitty Cat's okay.
Diane, you started in November of 23. Was your first seizure? I think you're muted.
Not really.
Can't hear you.
Sorry about that.
Oh.
Yikes.
Ashimo, ouch. I know, right?
Right.
I have
Oh,
scars, just like Tom. I have scars, no pictures. Hi, Tom.
Hey, oh, it did come up. Okay. I was trying to figure out how to turn my camera on.
Oh, I'm trying to find a spot where my glasses aren't gonna glare. That's
My problem. I had to
That's
turn all
so
the lights off.
it's the window. That's the problem. I don't have a single room without the windows other than the basement. So yeah.
And so how's everyone today?
Doing pretty well, thanks for asking.
yeah, so far so good. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Thank you. Pretty well.
Gosh darn
Today is the Caite Sailor Show. Let's see what's
So maybe
going on today.
for first timers, like the next question, you think it's a little too heavy to ask, how did you handle it when you were first diagnosed? Because I'm seeing that as a really common thread on any epilepsy group, is just somebody first diagnosed, feeling overwhelmed, and it seems like they do find some solace when one of us replies saying, "You're not alone. We all felt that way, but you're still confronting this, and that's definitely the right way to handle it or to start, making progress." So do you think that's a little too heavy to ask, like, for first timers, or do you want to stick with the just what are you taking, how you doing kind of thing?
Up to you.
Okay. So anybody want to answer that? Chime in or raise your hand for how did you handle it when you were first diagnosed?
I was in high school, so I had a seizure, and then I went to the hospital. I left class. Well, of course, the ambulance came and got me, and then a few days later, ambulance came and got me from the same class again. It was web design, so they thought it was being in front of the computer. When I got to the doctor the third time, they were just like, yeah, you have epilepsy. I didn't know what it was. So I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna have seizures basically. And they were like, yeah. So I just went on about my life, knew nothing about it. Should have learned more, should have paid more attention, but I didn't. And like I said, I was in high school. I was just going about my life like I didn't have epilepsy. And my family didn't take time to get to know about it. It was just like, you have epilepsy. And all right, this is what we're doing.
So did you have a harder time following doctor's orders, or were you willing to just accept it and kind of start the pills?
Um, I was a minor at the time, so like I guess my mom was talking to the doctor more than I was, so I didn't really know much. I just kind of went with the flow. My mom would say the doctor said this, you should take this, you should do that, and yeah, I never really had to talk to the doctor, but yeah, it was kind of hard just finding out, now I got to deal with this and I'm not alone. But then luckily I'm in front of friends and eventually friends got used to it, which sucks. They had to get used to it, but yeah. Yeah, I would say it was kind of hard dealing with it at first because I was a little self-conscious. It was like when I had the seizure in class, I was just like, wow, yeah, now people see me. Like I said, there was one guy who told me last time he seen me, he was like, last time I seen you, you were cramped up under a desk having a seizure, and I was crying. And I was like, wow, I'm sorry you had to go through that. But I talked to him like 3 or 4 years ago, and he told me that, and that was over 20 years ago. So,
Well,
yeah,
glad you can remember. And sounds like that's when you
me
really
too.
find out who your true friends are.
Me too, right. That's how you finna figure out because they were the ones that always call the ambulance, and I wasn't worried. I'm like, okay, good.
Right.
You guys don't know what to do. You call the ambulance. At least you know that much. And they knew the right hospital I went to every time. So I'd wake up at Stanford, go about my day. They'd be
There
like,
you
you
go.
chewed up your tongue, you peed on yourself, and call your parents if you want to go home.
There you go.
So yeah. Next.
All right, Tom, how's your diagnosis?
Okay, I was diagnosed over 50 years ago, but um, from what I understand, I was in total denial. I didn't want to believe it. I refused to believe it. My parents were both paramedics. Um, again, I had uh, an issue, smoking pot and all that good stuff. And Tom was doing Tom things, and he wanted nothing to do with um, being responsible, being uh, acknowledging the fact that I had issues. I don't really remember. This is just what I'm told. Is that Tom did what he wanted to do. And I didn't understand it, didn't want to understand it, and didn't want to listen to anybody. And I hope that any of the new ones that are here today, that maybe haven't been epileptic very long, please take responsibility for uh, your diagnosis and learn to live a better life. We can all do that if once we learn, accept it and learn how to deal with it, we can become just like everybody else to an extent.
All right, that's understandable. Next up, Al.
Hi everyone. It's my first time on one of these calls, so a bit nervous, but I'm calling from the UK. It's just a bit of a time difference. But first time I basically got diagnosed with epilepsy was 10 years ago. It was in 2015, and I was a teenager at the time, and basically I had woken up one morning, just like feeling like I needed to vomit, and then I vomited, and then I called my girlfriend, who was my ex at the time, who was close by, and she came and she said, like, Alex, like, why do you have, blood all over your face? and I was a bit, I was just very confused. I was like, "What do you mean?" And then I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'd had these like rug burns, basically after a tonic-clonic seizure. Um, and what was the hardest at the beginning was basically when we called the ambulance, the paramedic basically thought that I had drunk too much alcohol or gotten into a fight on, basically because I was drunk on drugs, as in he didn't believe that I could have had a seizure. And it was the same thing when I was in the hospital. They didn't believe me until after quite some time, as in they first just thought that, but then they ran my tests and they saw that I had only had like one beer, and like I'm a pretty big guy, like weight wise, so like one beer isn't gonna do anything. But yeah, first it was that lack of trust, I guess, and that, like I don't know what's going on. I'm a teenager and like it's like quite scary, I guess. But it's sort of like having also medical professionals then like have that, you're meant like you're meant to be looking at them for what's going on, but they don't know, and it's like confusing. So it was quite a tricky time at the very start, and I'm not gonna lie, I mean it's been 10 years, but I'm still struggling with acceptance on it.
So, I mean, did that initial speculation kind of contribute to the mistrust? Because it does seem to be really overwhelming, like you said, when you're speaking to a medical professional and either they're upfront about they don't know what's going on, or they're kind of fumbling over their words saying you're going to take meds and you're going to take this test. And if you come back with a question about, is this medication going to help? And they can't give you a solid yes. So that
Yeah,
you think that kind of contributed to it?
100%.
Yeah,
100.
I think a lot of us were right there with you for sure. Whether we diagnosed in younger years and then it resurfaced, or let's hear now from Nate.
All right. Yeah, first meeting as well. So I was diagnosed 26, 25 years ago, when I was 8. First seizure was in the cafeteria in 3rd grade. So scared the hell out of my entire grade. Um, and my recollection, the first thing I remember waking up in the nurse's office was essentially like my little 3rd grade crush crying her eyes out, saying she thought like I had died or something like that. Um, and then really, I didn't fully get like a diagnosis like, hey, you have this type of epilepsy. They thought I had maybe complex partials. They know I had a tonic-clonic that time, but I was always just saying as like a little kid would, like I feel funny and stuff like that, probably having some focals. But as I've gotten older, I primarily just have like tonic-clonic seizures with no aura. Um, and am drug resistant as well, so that's fun.
Yes, drug resistant is also a pretty common theme of a lot of contributors here. So thank you for sharing. I'm glad you have, learned to manage all of your symptoms and conditions, and we'll get into the medications. Pretty typically, side effects. Are there any that stand out to you from the course of your treatment? Have you had to switch them up a lot?
Yeah, I've been on like 16, 17 over the years. So and now I have a VNS and a DBS. And I've had an SEEG as well. So I've done a lot and can probably contribute to a lot of discussions.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Diane?
Abs-
Sorry. We're having trouble hearing you. It doesn't look like you're muted though. Is the mic connected? Yeah, tech issues always come up. It's okay. Just keep talking and see if we can hear you. Toaster, in the meantime, was your hand raised? Okay. What's up?
Hi. So I was diagnosed around the time that I became pregnant. Or excuse me, I started having seizures around the time I started having pregnant. I was actually diagnosed in labor. I had 2 seizures and then they went to an emergency C-section. And that's when they were like, yeah, this is, you're going to take Keppra now. I come back a few weeks later, I don't like this feeling. Keep taking it. Let's just increase the dose.
Right.
And it continued until, well, I've said it before as something just can't forget. I ended up pushing my stepdaughter down, and after that it was like, okay, physical attack, this is going to stop. And I went off. I was actually kicked out, which I honestly understand. I love my stepdaughter, but you don't want someone pushing your kids. I took my son and I stayed at a shelter for about 3 months until my grandfather swooped in and saved me and started renting me an apartment.
Yeah, so that's
That
a heavy
was
start. You found out during your pregnancy.
during my pregnancy. That was about 9-10 years ago. So about
So
a
do you feel
decade.
they were upfront with how the pregnancy or how the medications rather affected your fetus and birth and all that?
They didn't want to put me on when I was pregnant. I had a couple of seizures before, but of course, it's like, what the hell is going on here? Oh, it's just a panic attack. It's just a panic attack. It's not a panic attack, particularly when I am then wandering around trying to take my pants off in the middle of the Walgreens. No. It was hard to accept, but at the same, it was like 2 sides of my brain. Logically, it was like, why is this happening to me out of all the 1% I could be? Why did it have to be epilepsy? I could have been 1% of the Taekwondo champions or something. But no, but I am a 1%er. So there's that.
There you go. You see it for what it is. Being opportunistic, staying on the positive side is definitely a challenge that
Yeah.
that we all face. Has anybody else really come across a way to kind of change that perspective of being overwhelmed, especially at the beginning? Like what helped?
Me, um, I went back to writing. Writing always helps.
Weed
Just
helped.
say again?
Said weed helped everything.
Oh no, I write I write fantasy.
No, I was saying that weed helped me.
Oh, well, yes.
Well, that might help with fantasy too if you're done breastfeeding.
Right.
Yes, we are. That was again like, no, he's going to turn 9 September, so
There you go.
he's over that. I can have my medicine again,
All right. How about
which
Anne
I get
here?
from a guy named Tom, by the way, which I find funny.
There you go.
I'll make this short and sweet for our new friends here, part of our family here. Since I'm doing some research and I have to get deeper into my medical records, I discovered today that I was actually diagnosed with epilepsy when I was 7, and that was in 1968. My family only treated broken skin and broken bones. and runny noses. They didn't want to face all of that. So I didn't get another diagnosis, an official, so they are saying to me now, until 2007, when I was 46. I collapsed at work, went directly into cardiac or respiratory arrest. And I was in status for almost 12 hours. So I came out of it, but I was in what they call mental state altered, also known as a coma, for a little over 3 days. And that's when my diagnosis came. And fortunately for me, I did have some connections then in the medical community. The doctor that diagnosed me in a Buffalo hospital, I'm from Western Central New York, was a doctor that I used to work with at one of the Niagara Falls hospitals. And apparently he had a bit of a tantrum because for whatever reason, and I appreciate it, my primary care provider showed up. And unfortunately, the records showed that this primary care provider was aware of all of these symptoms for almost 20 years. So cringe factor. The official diagnosis when I started treatment was in 2007. They put me on Lamotrigine. First, they put me on Keppra. Keppra didn't go so well. I didn't do so great with Keppra. And that only took us a month to figure out. And then they put me on Lamotrigine, and I had breakthrough seizures for almost a decade, and they just kept increasing the Lamotrigine until I found out after I left that neurology group that I was actually taking a daily overdose at 1,300 milligrams of Lamotrigine and nothing else. They did nothing else, no other EEGs, nothing. So when I got another EEG done in 2016, we discovered a little bit more than just temporal lobe epilepsy. I was treated for that until 2018 when I had to have neck surgery. The compression in my spine was triggering seizures, and took care of that. And I'm here now not even battling anymore, because I've got the Queen's Gambit, the epilepsy center that I go to now for the last 5 years, has been saying, yes, you have epilepsy, but all the seizures you're having are psychogenic. And I just found out because I reached out and this is for the USA, for you guys that are, like in the UK or wherever, but in the United States, we have an organization that's called the National Association of Epilepsy Centers. They are the governing body of accreditation for all epilepsy centers in America. I've been reading their qualifications, what is the requirements for accreditation, and they make that available online for patients that feel that they're not getting the treatment that they should. And unfortunately for this epilepsy center in Rochester, I've been an advocate. And that's what got me through my initial diagnosis, was jumping right into advocacy, because I'm like, I need help. I don't know how to do it. And, so we're talking 15 years of advocacy with a circle of people around me. And we're going to need a conference room for an appointment that I have at that epilepsy center, June 10th. I have the legal right to file that violation. The doctor has a legal right to a copy. I will have one to hand it to him, unless they decide to correct those violations that day and adjust and correct my medical records accordingly, so that we can move forward. And because right now I'm 10 years behind. This literally put me 10 years back. Like, I'm back to 2017. Because I'm only on lacosamide, which is Vimpat. We just ended my pregabalin, And that was the only thing that was really helping me with the, I don't know if you guys, I have focal to bilateral tonic-clonic. So I can have everything from an absence seizure to status epilepticus. So I get this like buzz all day long when I don't have the pregabalin. And they're like, well, that's anxiety. Okay, well, the anxiety is coming from your twisted diagnosis. So you're not going to help me after 5 years. I'm going to the top. So the top is going to be coming in with me on June 10th, and they're not even going to know it, that there's a representative there with me. So, yeah, I'm, you know, and last week I was all teary-eyed because I was so frustrated. And I just have to share this with you guys. Kate, you had me on the phone. You checked up on me. You kept me going. And I'm doing this for all of us. Just like I advocated and was an activist for medical marijuana because it's so important for us as epileptics. And it was my exit and replacement for OxyContin. So that was, yeah, that's where I started. So I'm fighting for all of us and hoping that we can get some more awareness in the medical community. There's no reason for emergency room staff to not recognize anything other than a tonic-clonic, what I call a Hollywood seizure. You know, they should have more training than we do. I think they do, but they don't have as much experience. So, you know, this is where I am. Sorry it wasn't as short as I wanted it to be, but yeah, I'm the advocate here, and I'm tired. And my epileptologist and his NP told me to take diphenhydramine. My nose still hurts from the Nasilum, but I have epilepsy, but I don't have epileptic seizures. Henceforth, the National Association of Epilepsy Centers. You know, we have to fix it. When you see something wrong, say something. And, you know, if you need help, we'll help you do something. That's what it's about. And this isn't in anger. It would have been a year ago. This is out of love. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what's so righteous about everything you do and why you're such an inspiration, because it's not out of anger. When you describe the injustices and just every time they went wrong for you, I got mad.
Yeah.
But you explained to me exactly why how you use that as fuel for the fire, motivation for advocacy, and we're all so proud of you and so grateful.
And I appreciate you because honestly, you turned me right round. Seeing faces right here, people just like me with experiences that we share. I'm like, wait a minute, this is so different from Realm of Caring. This is so different. You know, I did most of that was telephone calls, emails, letters. I wasn't sitting there with the patient. And this is different, guys. This is totally different. So
Let's just call it new age.
It is new age. It is the next gen of my advocacy. And I love you guys. You're holding me up. You're my safety net for this.
Love you, Ann.
I love
Same
you.
feeling. So Destiny, is this your first meeting with us?
Yep.
Hi everyone. Yeah, this is my first meeting with everyone. So nice to meet y'all. I'm 25 and I'm in North Carolina, and I just found this group obviously like on Reddit. So hey everyone. Yeah, my seizure started in on September 4th of last year. So it's very, very new to me. I think I'm having, and they've mostly been all like grand malls, and on just like 20 days ago, I had like some clusters in the morning. So pretty much once a month since they've started, which has been very frustrating. I think for me, I also am diabetic. So I've been diabetic since I was basically like 3. And it's really frustrating trying to get used to all of the changes that come along with epilepsy, because being diabetic, it's just kind of my life. Obviously, I don't remember much before 3. And so I know when it first started, I was getting really upset about like, oh, the 6 months I want to drive, and every seizure I have each month is just setting me back and like counting down the days. Like, oh, it's been this long before I've had a seizure and stuff. So I've learned to stop doing that. And I'm kind of learning that there may not be like a 6 months where I don't drive, or I'm sorry, where I don't have seizures. Um, so it's been upsetting. And I'm still just like getting used to it. They started in September, and it took till like the end of October for them to give me medication. And then it took until March for them to diagnose me with epilepsy, which has been kind of frustrating because I'm having them at least once a month starting in September. So I don't understand why it took so long. And I really wanted to get on the medication after the second event in October, but they kept saying like, oh, I'm not, like the ER hospitals kept saying like I wasn't a good candidate. And then I don't even remember. I think it took until January to see a neurologist. Um, and so I'm just learning, like, it's kind of funny when people like talk about disabilities and stuff, I especially there's like this that's not me, let's get it fixed and I'll go back to how I was. And so I think I'm just trying to accept that like there is never going to be like a back to how it was.
Destiny, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. It's been really hard. I lost my job um because can't remember anything. And I was like a journalist, a health journalist. Um, and so I'm just trying to figure out like what's going on. Um, so yeah, it's nice to meet everyone and be here.
Absolutely. We're so
Thank
happy
you.
to meet you and have you here. And this is
Thank you.
exactly why we all come together a couple times a week and every day we can on the message boards. But honestly, Destiny, your story is
Great.
just all too common. I mean, it's totally heartwarming and endearing, but it's also infuriating at the same time to hear how
Yeah.
long you're waiting for medications, how long you're waiting for appointments after an ER visit. And it's just another reminder of how the healthcare system, all too often, it feels like does not take this seriously. So even at the maybe a little too demanding, I mean, be ready. Be ready to have to stand up for yourself, especially if they try to give you the runaround of, not having the same neurologist. I mean, if trust your instincts on when you see a doctor, if they don't seem competent or that they're not asking the right questions or that they're not giving you enough information as to whether, how medications interact, what you can and can't do on these medications, this is a new world for you to have to navigate. So you
Yeah.
need a caring, competent team. And it is going to be that, a team, because besides having a neurologist or an epileptologist maybe ordering tests, you're going to want to know, how quickly those results come back. And other people in the office are definitely going to have to be on top of their game, because especially for a new diagnosis, like you said, this is hard enough to navigate already. The last thing you need is somebody else not holding up their end of the
Dropping
bargain.
the ball.
Yeah, I
Yes.
didn't even realize until the third event, which must have been November, that I shouldn't have been taking a bath alone. And the nurse was like, well, yeah, anything that you like will have a seizure, like that would be dangerous. You shouldn't be doing. And I was like, yeah, but why would they not tell me in October or
Right.
anything? So
Right.
I went through a big phase of just anger, and I don't think it's away, but I think I'm trying to do other stuff with it than just lay in bed and be angry all the time, because it's not going to change anything. But thank y'all.
Absolutely happy to have you. So Diane, did those let's check that mic. There we
Hi,
go. That's the
yeah.
word. Okay, now we can hear you.
Hear me? Thanks. So yeah, I'm gonna probably get a little emotional. Destiny, thank you. Everybody really for here and just coming together. So yeah, mine came out of the blue. I was at work and I had a job at that time where it was partly remote, but I was working on an event and I was with a really great group of women and we were in one of their homes and so I was with a good good group and I woke up in the hospital being told that I had a seizure. And I was in shock. This was November of 2023. I'm in my 50s, so it was very not something that I had never expected. No history of anything other than I found out deja vu is connected to having seizures, which I didn't know. And my doctor that day in the ER, they were clearly very busy. They did all the tests and came back saying that I had a tonic-clonic, but that they didn't anything show up on my tests and that I would just be assigned, a doctor. And again, I was still in shock. I was told that day that I wasn't able to drive and I had my car. One of my coworkers had brought my car to the hospital and I was still kind of, it was, I don't know, it was surreal. And so my partner came and met me at the hospital and came home and I was still kind of in shock. They sent me home with Keppra and I immediately went to look everything up. Like, what is this? Most of my career has been in healthcare. So I did a lot of stuff and put out some feelers and I was assigned a neurologist that I did like an online meeting with, and I could tell they were not the best. There was a lack of connection and just, I'd ask questions and the answers were odd. Like they didn't make sense. And she's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to you to know. So 2 weeks later, I had another one. And again, I woke up and I was also at work and I had already started taking public transportation and I was again at work. And within those 2 weeks, one of the ladies that was with me when I had my first seizure started being a little bit, so within the Latin community and within the belief system, there's a lot of seizures tend to be associated with being possessed. And so there was a kind of a reaction that I wasn't it wasn't surprising, but it was still kind of, it was affecting me personally versus hearing it, it's different when it hits, first person versus having the empathy of feeling with somebody else and not quite understanding it. So it was a little bit odd. And so I felt, okay, I had to put myself in a mindset of being more positive, as odd as that could be. And then I had my second one also at work. And so I ended up again waking up in the hospital. And after that one, I got, it really hit me on a different level. And I just kind of, I quit my job within that month. And kind of went into a little bit of a depressed mood, which I'm not quite out of. It hits me. I quit that job because it was coming to an end anyway. It was a contract job. And then I had started and accepted a new job that was starting in January of 2024, which I lasted 3 months because I went from working at home 90% of the time to now having to commute via public transportation every day. And I had quite a bit of I was still having tonic clonics, but thankfully I didn't have one on the bus, and I didn't have one walking to, I realized I was terrified then of having a seizure on the street, you know, and being like, would I get hit by a car? And so all of these things started like coming in. And after those 3 months, I realized I needed to take the time off to kind of just function and realize what I had just experienced and what I was going through, and that I was on this diagnosis. I started with a new neurologist in January, and she switched me to lamotrigine. And thankfully she's been great. I'm happy with her, and she listens. And but yeah, as Destiny mentioned, I went from years of having my car and having that, you know, my independence, and going like, all of a sudden I can't drive. And so what was I going to do with work? I'm still not working. I go through the spurts of wanting to apply. And then after COVID, a lot of jobs went back, and recently of having to be there in person. And so I'm glad where I live. I'm in the Bay Area in California. So I have public transportation available, much easier than other areas, but there's a paranoia or kind of a fear that I still have that I'm kind of processing.
Just never hold that against yourself. Never hold that against yourself at all. I understand how many of us have literally had the same thing, from, you know, religious backgrounds to, like you said, Latin households, who are more likely to send, you know, tell you that you should go on a healing, you know, go see one of those Christian healer people, and, you know, accept that you have a demon inside you. That is
That's
not
my mom.
Hello.
She's still like, I can't even tell her if I have something, because she's like, oh, it's still in you. And it's like, oh my God, Mom. Okay.
Sí,
So I don't even share it with
también.
her. Yeah.
Es mi madre también, pero no
Oh,
puedo decir
yeah,
eso.
no, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we are definitely feeling that. I mean, how did you feel the support at work was?
So it was, they didn't want me to leave my job, but that was so that was nice. Actually, I think back and I think, man, I should have just stayed, because they were willing to work with me being at home, even though the contract did get extended. But the community that I was working with one-on-one, I was working with promotoras, their healthcare, nonprofit healthcare kind of educators. The majority of them were really great with me. Just a couple of them were also about, you know, the possession thing. But for the most part, I felt good. But with that kind of support, and my particular team, my coworkers versus the promotoras which were part of the group but not employees per se, that was coming to an end too, because we all were part of this contract, not knowing that I had been extended really. So they had already looked at and accepted other positions. So I would have been kind of left alone with that regard. So, but while the little bit of time that I was there, they were really, the majority of them were really helpful and understanding, which was great, because working in healthcare was a good way for people to be exposed firsthand. And, you know, there's a lot more knowledge that went around instead of fear. So that's a positive. Where I ended up taking the other job, that was a little bit tougher. But you know, it was also so new to me that it was just not what I should have done. But they were not wanting me to leave either. But yeah, I have a lot of support. My partner is amazing. And I just feel safe. So I go through these moments of, oh, I'm going to do this. And I get excited of wanting to do things and feeling like some autonomy. And then I get freaked out and I don't want to do stuff. And I have nobody around me that has had any seizures at all. Nobody. So yeah. And I kind of cocooned. And so I go on Reddit. So thank you. And, you know, I read things and it's like, wow, I connect with this. And so this opportunity has been amazing. I have these seizures. I didn't realize, you know, the moments as I'm learning the different types of seizures, because I was stuck on just tonic-clonics, not recognizing that I was having focals and all these other things that are still around. I mean, I have them, I can go a week or so without anything. And then all of a sudden I get hit with you know, sometimes even 3, 4, 5 a day. But the lamotrigine works. I like it. My doctor was willing to switch things. She's like, if you want to try something else, let me know and I'll work with you on that. She gave me like a small list of 4 different meds that she says work really well with her patients. But the more I read on them, I decided to stay on lamotrigine. I don't know if there's a little bit of fear that I have of switching something that I've been on now for a year and a half. So now I need to get back to work. I can't not work anymore. So I pushed it as far as I can. So now I'm going through that kind of confrontation and trying to let go of the fear and just being really particular about what I'm looking at to apply. So thank you.
That's definitely a process. Absolutely. I mean, we're happy to be here for you. We've all experienced that feeling of like how you need to isolate. I mean, that's how it was for me. Nate, you mentioned that, when you show up at the ER and they say that you probably know more about seizures than we do. Do you feel like that's kind of another generalization, like that all medical professionals just assume that whatever they learned about epilepsy, it's still so individual that they don't bother sharing any knowledge on like those ER visits, for example?
Yeah, it's entirely feasible that's just their assumption, or maybe I tell them like, yeah, I've had epilepsy for over 20 years, so they're like, okay, epilepsy was one course in med school, and I've seen a few seizure cases in my time at this ER. So you're the expert, and you're probably better than my neuroconsult, which I probably don't need because you're epileptic anyways. I don't need to try to make a diagnosis or have an EEG to try to confirm that you're epileptic. You're telling me that you're epileptic. So let me just, keep you for hours and release you, I guess. That's the only thing that they can do unless you, injured yourself. And yeah, that experience is always frustrating, especially when um I don't know. I know different metro areas are different with their ambulances, but I'm in New York City, and there's a lot of private ambulance companies. And yeah, over the years each one is about $1,500. So it's like
Wow.
that just to get told that experience, by the doctor, and waste, your remainder of your day and then get an Uber home, is rough.
Yeah, so that sounds like the definition of like vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So Destiny, you mentioned that yours was in the newsroom. So how was the support there? I mean, I'm picturing a TV set right now. I don't know what to picture.
Um, I worked on like in a digital I worked at an online like publication, so it was like in Charlotte, and it was about Charlotte's Black community. So it was a very scary day for everyone. I don't know, like I do not. I do this thing when I have an aura where I've already like kind of lost my consciousness. I'm like it's that exact noise. Like I know everyone knows. Like if I start doing that, I'm about to have a seizure. So my it's a very small newsroom. It's about 5 people from head to toe. So my editor sits across from me, and she thought I was like trying to be funny, but it was annoying her. So she looked up and then saw like I'm actually like unconscious. So she was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" So I heard that and I kind of looked up. I couldn't respond, and my hands were numb, and I was just looking at them, and then I don't remember anything else. I guess she brought me outside, and the publisher of our newsroom is older than we're all a bunch of like 30, 20-year olds, and he knew like it looks like she's going to have a seizure. So he said like bring her down and lay her down, I guess. And I seized, and it was a grand mal and or a tonic clonic, and they obviously called 911, and then I just woke up in the hospital. Well, actually, I woke up one time while they were taking me to the hospital. I don't know like if the lights were on. I know we were stuck in traffic, and some guy, homeless person, God bless them, was like banging on the side of the ambulance, and it woke me up, and I was really scared and confused. And then I just went back to being unconscious. And then from there I woke up in the hospital, and like my boyfriend at the time was there, and my best friend, and they were kind of like explaining to me what happened. And like I said, that denial for acceptance is still there, because I immediately thought like that's weird that happened, like I'll be okay in a second, is what I thought. Like I thought that's weird, I'll never have a seizure again, like I'm sure it's okay. And then it just kept happening. My newsroom was originally very supportive. They always give me the time off that I need. When my partner moved out and I was kind of figuring out like how do I take care of myself, which I was pretty angry about, like why would I like go into this relying on someone, because now I don't know how to take care of myself. Um but like just figuring out, like I feel really sore, and then when you have a seizure, you just kind of figure it out and stuff like that. And then I would tell my boss, like, think is serious. And he would always be like, take the time off you need. I was in the hospital in October for a week. Them trying to get the EEG, and it's like, it's not gonna happen because you've given me all this medication. Um, and it was not a problem, but I don't have like cognitive abilities to remember what is happening at city council meetings. It's physically hard for me to stay there for 5 hours. um I don't remember AP style, like the whole journalism thing. I spent all this time and money in school was a waste. So I was let go in April, and now I'm like really don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't have that. My severance is already gone. It was 1 month. And I live like I'm not, my family's in Ohio. So it's like I don't even know what job I can do. I went to a job fair, and all of them are like, "Can you drive?" No. No, I can't drive. So I'm still, there's just so much to figure out. And my family keeps saying, just come home. It's like I'm like where I live. I want to stay here. I've lived here for like 4 years. I have friends here. Um, so it was, they have been as supportive as they can be, but in a newsroom where they can only afford 2 reporters, like they financially cannot afford to keep me when I'm not doing my job. And I was pissed. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna look up ADA stuff. So I met with a pro bono lawyer, and I'm sure everyone here knows, like, at a company less than 15 employees, there just simply aren't any ADA protections. It just simply doesn't work that way. Whether or not there are local protections, sure. But as far as ADA fed stuff, it's not going to work like that. So it's been a lot to figure out. It's been a lot going on.
Have you considered at this point accepting moving back? Because I know that that loss of independence is genuinely the biggest slap in the face of accepting that this is something it's going to take a lot more time and energy to manage than any other illness you've ever experienced. But I mean that starting point of not having to worry about whether you're going to come back to, your locks changed and having been evicted is just that, a starting point. Have you considered maybe accepting moving back? Otherwise, would they be able to offer you support in the form of, somebody coming to stay with you?
Um, I don't know, really. I'm beginning to accept it a little bit more, because I just don't think whether or not I want to is an option at this point because I can't take care of myself and my friends can't take care of me either. They need to focus on taking care of themselves. They have stuff going on. They're trying to help
Right.
me, but it just, I don't know. I'm thinking, well, what if I don't know. Even if I find a different city, then like I'm from Cleveland, if I need to have an income, I'd still have to make new friends. I don't want to do that at that point. If I have to make new friends, I just rather go home. I will say what's helping me not be as devastated is my sister has 4 children, the oldest being 10, and I feel horrible missing out on their childhood. And so I could be the cool aunt.
And this is back in Ohio?
Yeah, back in Ohio. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, seeing any kind of opportunity or being able to turn any of these experiences into a positive is exactly the right step to take to keep you out of that initial overwhelming depression that it sounds like a lot of newly diagnosed, especially at this point in your life. It's so easy to fall into. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
yeah, I
Destiny,
mean,
I would
It's
say like I've been in I don't want to say similar scenarios, but like this past year has been difficult for me. I got laid off 11 months ago. Um, and girlfriend of 6 years that I actually still live with. We broke up with 2 weeks later. Um, and she had been a big support person and like primary, not caregiver, but like she knew how to take care of me essentially. Um, and I, when I hear you explaining the just the massive things that you have to cope with and figure out, it's completely overwhelming and would overwhelm anyone, right?
Yeah.
Like, so just starting with the very basic things, like where can I live and sustain myself, and then figure out everything else.
From there, yeah.
Yeah.
Branch out from there. But you have to get a base. You have to have a base to go on. You have to live, honey. You know,
Yeah. And the basic
I understand.
things with us is like where am I going to get my health care and ensure that I can get my medications filled and have like a good doctor. Um, and then, essentially what everybody else deals with. And
Right.
for an unfortunate thing with dealing with epilepsy chronically is you have to first focus on those basics for epilepsy and then deal with what everybody else deals with. Um, and it is overwhelming, but just try to focus on the other things like making friends, um, and what you want, unfortunately, next.
so something I just put in the chat was, did anybody else kind of see that initial diagnosis as like the fork in the road? I mean, my issue is that I don't remember any of it. I never have an aura. The seizures like today lasted maybe 2 minutes and it wiped out 4 hours of the day. But did anybody else kind of go for disability right away, or were more of you inclined to try to keep working, just get something more remote?
I tried to keep pushing on. It didn't work. Having seizures on the job, like I said, I was on the job, and as you see, fell in the fryer, elbow deep. Stayed there, kept working. I had little blisters on my fingers and stuff. Kept working that day. I don't know why, but I was just like, all right, I need to push on. I need this money. Yeah, and at that time I was walking to work, so that was another thing too. Just like did not have the independence, but I had to keep doing what I was doing to live. Like, don't want to be a burden, so you gotta. Yeah, I didn't want to leave work and then tell my dad, "Oh, I left work because I had a seizure and this happened." Even though I had the bruises, um, I was just like, "Yeah, I don't want to worry anyone, so I'm just gonna push on," and end up getting denied for Social Security maybe 6 or 7 times. Yeah, I'm on an appeal right now, but yeah.
Okay, so Destiny, I mean, you saw that Anne reminded Cleveland does have one of the top epilepsy centers, and the disability being mine is 1,700, but that was based on a $50,000 income. I don't remember if they counted the commission or not, but that was pretty much what made my job. I was a debt collector. I was a medical bill collector for 5 years. I was only in the workforce for 5 years before I just had too many seizures on the job, and my family wouldn't, just wouldn't let me deny it anymore. So yeah, mine is 1,700, but they do have stipulations if you have. I doubt you have children, but if you do have children, then they'll give you a couple extra hundred for that.
Yeah, my last job at FedEx was officially the last one. I was going to work, and my stepmom, she was like, "Give this letter to your boss." I thought nothing of it. I didn't even read it. I just gave it to him, and he was like, "Are you quitting?" I was like, "Huh?" And I read it. And it was a letter of resignation, and I was like, "Why did she give me this?" And I gave it to him. He took it to the office, and we filled out some papers and got my check a week later. And figured out that she said I shouldn't be working anymore. But that was after I had a seizure there. It was warehouse, and I had stitches in my gums. So my family was just like, "No, you're not going to keep doing this and keep coming home hurt and bruised and all that stuff." So I moved on, and now it's just like got to worry about people. Got to worry about my independence. People have to take care of me, and that shit sucks. But yeah, just kind of live your life. I try not to be depressed too much. I try to go out every now and then. Yeah.
I tried for 15 years to get on SSDI, and it took me till I was 40 years old. And my wife actually saved me because I was about in the street. And and when I was 40, it was actually my wife who wrote the final letter to where they finally listened. And I've been on SSDI for 20 years, and I and I'm working part-time. My wife is a caregiver. She's on retirement, so we're doing fine. But without my disability, it would have been really tough. But it's perseverance. Yeah, you can't give up.
Yeah, perseverance is definitely a good point. So does anybody else has anybody else gone the SSDI kind of battle, had to appeal?
No, I'm on Medicaid, but I don't receive any sort of money. I just receive food stamps and money for medicine or all my medical bills. So no other form of financial assistance. But the bureaucracy for that is very difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult for everyone, I assume. But
Yep.
yeah, up until I was 20 something. I was on my parents' insurance, but then after that, I had to get some sort of assistance because it was just impossible to pay without a job.
Right.
Well, from what I remember, I mean, the difference between being on Medicaid and Medicare did make a difference. You don't get Medicare until you're on SSDI for 2 years. So I was on Medicaid until that point, and that's the kind of clinics where I would go back and see a different doctor every time. You know, I had an appointment with a neurologist. Maybe they had the certification, but that was definitely the worst period of healthcare because they did the same thing. Look, glanced at the chart. Oh, you're still having seizures? Okay, take more. I had to tell them I was already taking the max dose. And that is the impression that I got from Medicaid was absolutely just get in the door, get, you know, get through the list of patients that day. I never ever felt that there was any individualized attention. Diane, what is your stance on that situation?
I'd done
Are
some
you still going
reading.
for SSDI? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I had read about it, but it seemed really difficult to get. And so I just kind of put it aside. But from what I'm reading, I'm going to talk to my doctor about it and I'm going to do a little bit more. I remember reading something about you needed to have a significant amount of seizures a day for them to even consider it. I was thinking in my mind that it had to be tonic-clonics. And so I didn't realize that I could include the fact that I have them pretty regularly, not necessarily the tonic-clonics, which I found out like the last one I had, I didn't have an aura. I just woke up and I was already on the floor. I've had a significant amount of, I had to get a lot of dental work done, which costs money, right? Because I have a Medi-Cal, but it doesn't cover dental. So I'm going to do a little more reading and I'm getting some points here and I'll talk to my doctor about SSDI. You know, I'm a little bit older and I thought, well, gosh, can I take an early retirement or something along those lines? But even that was difficult to come to really get anything solid. And so, yeah, I got a little bit just overwhelmed and I just didn't want to, it puts me, I don't want to say necessarily depressed, but it just puts me in a mode of not wanting. And I realize that and then I get up again, right? And then I realize, seize the day, SUDEP exists. I don't know what's going to happen. So like advocate for myself and do it. And then I get in those modes and then I kind of go back down again. But this is extremely helpful and it's really fantastic to hear everybody sharing things that I didn't know that I could do. But I receive, like Kevin, I do get help with food monthly and I have Medi-Cal. Yeah, I'll look more into SSDI and talk to my doctor about it.
Yes, talk to your doctor, honey. Don't allow, I mean, it's so easy to say, but don't try not to get too depressed. It is a battle. It is a battle. It is.
Yeah.
But it's a battle you can win. But I'm gonna tear up here now myself. Honey, don't allow yourself to get beat up. All right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate
not at
that.
all.
And it's humbling too, right? Being with you all. Everybody has such a different experience. So it's humbling to know. I mean, it's still newish versus, some of you that have been dealing with seizures for, so many years and since childhood. Yeah, it's such a, my goodness.
I mean, it doesn't make it any less intimidating for you though.
Right. No, I agree.
Because at this point it's still such a surprise. I mean, for both you and Destiny at points in your life when you thought you could have a plan and
Yeah.
surprise,
Boom.
surprise.
The
No
bottom
way.
falls
Yeah.
out.
I have so many
Cookie,
student
what were you gonna
loans
say?
too. I'm like, oh my God.
Ugh.
Anyway.
Well, those actually
God.
those did actually fall off. I wanted to
Oh,
have that letter framed. I was also 60 or $70,000 in, and 5-6 years later, I think it did actually. They do cancel them out.
wow.
Yes.
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
that did work, but again, it takes years. I mean, I don't ever expect to have, be in the sixes again for
Yeah.
credit, but we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. What were you going to say, Pookie?
I was gonna say to Diane, you
Yeah.
have Medi-Cal and they don't take care of dental?
They don't take care of dental. That's a whole thing. They do for my mom who has Medicare. She has a little bit of a small plan, but nothing for Medi-Cal, at least not that I'm aware of. I mean, you can if you have oral surgery, and it for Medi-Cal for me would have to be from an accident or something along those lines, and it would have to be surgery. Mine were just
A
cracked teeth.
cosmetic.
Right. And so they see it as cosmetic, and I had to pay out of pocket, which
Mhm.
I haven't even completed it all. I completed the ones that were absolutely needed, like my broken molars and a front tooth and a lower front tooth that was thankfully didn't end up needing a root canal, because that would have been an additional $2,000 just for a root canal, which then would have led to a crown, which is like close to 2,000. So like $4,000 for just a single tooth. Thankfully I didn't have that, but it's still, close to $1,000 and didn't do all of them. So no, Medi-Cal does not cover dental unless it's surgery that's done through an oral surgeon. Yeah, sucks.
There's a dentist connected to the clinic I go to, and I've never had a problem going there. There's asthma doctors and stuff like that, like stuff I've went to that I was like, oh wow, I can go this place and go that place and they'll take care of it. But
There's a lot of stuff out there that we're not aware of,
Yeah,
until well, look at Pokey. There's a lot of things out there that it just takes a lot of digging and asking a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Diane, I'm in Palo Alto, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in the Bay Area, so I'm like, what's going on? I get to do dentists and you don't, but yeah.
Is it through your Medi-Cal that you get to do with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah,
If there's a dental clinic or a teaching hospital near you, call them and see if they have a dental part. Because if they do, sometimes they'll make you pay a small amount, but it's usually less than half of whatever and they'll show you on the bill, like it'll be less than half of what they would charge somebody else. And sometimes it's nothing at all, like cleanings and stuff's usually nothing at all. And like UCSF, like Pookie was saying, to my memory, they did not charge for any of the stuff in their dental clinic. Sometimes you have to wait a long time because they're students and then there's a teacher with them, and they may take a little longer to get to you. But
okay. Yeah,
it's worth looking into for sure.
Dental schools, yes.
And UCSF does have a dental school. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I have been there. They're very kind. They're very nice there.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And UCSF also has like a plan for if you can't afford your medical or dental bills, if they did try to put it on you, you just call, and they have like a foundation where people donate money that pays off that stuff for you if you ask.
Nice. Yeah. I had Kaiser before when I was working. So because I had Kaiser, they were able to give me Kaiser for Medi-Cal. So I was able to keep my previous doctor also, and then my neurologist. But the dental is absolutely extremely helpful. And should I lose my Medi-Cal, then I know that the medical school, it's great that they have that. It didn't even dawn on me to do the dental there. But thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin, did you have something
so much out there that I
contribute?
don't know yet? Like it really
Yeah. I'm actually just looking something up. You keep using this term Medi-Cal.
California.
It's California's Medicare.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No,
Thanks for clearing that up. All right.
Medicaid.
Yeah, that's something I
Medi-Cal,
learned about too.
California is Medicaid.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. I've never heard that. Okay.
All right, what's up, Pookie?
we got this thing on Medi-Cal to where you can like get on. I get an Uber and I can get an Uber to anywhere that has a pharmacy, or has a doctor or dentist or yeah. So
Uber just
that's how I
denied
get
me.
around. Do you have Medi-Cal? You said, right?
I do, and I applied for the Uber voucher program, and I explained to them that my doctor doesn't have her own official letterhead, and I still got a letter from her saying that I cannot drive, and they still denied me the 6-month free voucher thing. And so I got down and I was like, okay, I'm not going to argue a third time with them. So I just I did the hopscotch program. That is I don't even know how I found that. I think it was through Reddit. I did the hopscotch program, which is like an 8-week program on memory. And she referred me to a local foundation that offers Lyft offers up to, I think, 4 rides a month they'll cover up to $17 of the ride.
That's what it is.
California has it figured out, but it's expensive to live here, like ridiculous. Yeah, like you said, they got it figured out, but
Is gas actually like $8?
it's like 5-10.
It's
Okay, see,
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew
mean,
it. We're
it-
looking for a place to live this summer, and my mother was saying like her older sister lives in San Francisco area, and she was trying to get us to come out there, but she's so against like blue states. It's stupid. And she thinks we're gonna fall into a fault line, of course.
Oh no. I will
coming
say
from
the Bay Area
Florida.
has great public transportation.
Yes. Our public transportation is one of the best. There's buses that go everywhere and connection, and you can get on this bus and pay less because you just got off of this bus.
Yeah.
Portland's
Our
the
public
same
transit
way.
is pretty good.
Portland's the same way. Can't
Yes.
beat it.
Portland, yeah.
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
another point that came up before was chamomile tea and nutrition.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that plays into nutrition, but especially for, when I was first diagnosed, I know I didn't find out about how nutrition might contribute to medication interactions and seizures for years. I just blamed it all on the hormones. Around that time of the month, I knew something was going to happen. And during all the pregnancies, I know it was going to be a bad one every trimester. And when I started and stopped, like, and any major changes. So what I'm seeing is that chamomile specifically interacts with benzodiazepines as well as, in a way that would cause withdrawal symptoms. And we all know that's the tonic-clonics, the worst ones. And the anticonvulsants, chamomile also has interactions that could alter their effects. I'm not finding anything too specific about what that can mean, but I think another one of our contributors here, Destiny, you said you already have diabetes. Are you on medications for those too, or have your doctors really educated you on those kinds of things?
So I have type 1, so I'm on fast and long-acting insulin, and that's pretty much it as far as the diabetes goes. I have asked like about things. So I also have bipolar. So luckily the antipsychotics like work quite well and the like those play together. But like it's really annoying. For an example, I'll just be frank, like I needed to know when they put me on, I can't remember, of course, but they put me on something and I needed to know, like, is this going to work with my IUD? Which obviously we know why I'm asking that because I'm having sex. But when I wanted to ask that, my boss came with me because like he was really supportive and he asked me if he could come and he just wanted to ask questions. So I said, yeah, I'm not going to ask that in front of my boss. And then the second time I just felt embarrassed, like my neurologist as a man. I don't know. I just felt embarrassed. So I finally asked when I went to the pharmacist and I was like, hey, like, how do these drugs interact? But like, why wasn't I told that? Why do I have to like ask around and like play games and feel like embarrassed? Like, is my IUD going to work? So, And I'm very like cautious of, I'm like pretty aggressive about asking about the drug interactions because I'm on so many different drugs. I take like 8 different pills a day plus the injections, long and fast acting insulin. Like I'm on a lot of medication. So it is really scary. And sometimes I'll just like look it up myself and wonder like, damn, like,
Why didn't they tell me that?
yeah, yeah.
I
So
say
I
that
mean,
all the
some of
time.
the
Why
yeah, go
didn't they
ahead.
tell me this?
So the antipsychotics, particularly, I'm seeing some of them actually increase a risk for seizures. If this didn't start in your 20s and you've been on maybe that bipolar medication for so long, has anybody addressed that? You know, maybe the longer you're on one of these medication, one of these antipsychotics, that it may have lowered your threshold.
That is like a good question. So I'm taking trileptal and max dose twice a day and then Vimpat
Okay.
200. I'm like supposed to be like splitting it up like to get my tolerance up because I just started it. I'm supposed to be taking like 1 pill twice a day, like cut it in half, and then next week I'm supposed to be taking two. To be honest, I have not been taking the 1 pill twice a day. I just put one in my medicine, and that's what I'll continue to do. My doctor said like because I started with half a pill last week. So it's not like I'm just diving into it. And my doctor said, like, if you want to do that, you can do that, but be careful. Um, but then what the hell is my Oh, Latuda. I think it's Latuda. See, I'm on there's so many. I'm sorry, y'all. And the memory problems don't help, but I'm specifically on Latuda because I did want it to know. And my psychiatrist told me, like, oh, that should help with the seizures. But I low-key don't trust him because he was telling me to take like zinc for my hair, and that can increase the seizures. But I will say he told me to take that way before the seizure started. I just think he should have told me once the seizure started, like, hey, stop taking the zinc. So it's hard when I feel like I'm not getting a necessarily straight answer from everyone.
I'll just so you know, it looks like Latuda is known. I mean, I'm sure you've done your research here for a lowered seizure threshold and increasing seizures in some individuals. So Latuda specifically seems to be, one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'll
But
have
I'm
to.
glad that you're listening to, only starting at like the 10 milligrams at the lower doses and gradual increase, so that'll help you narrow down which ones. Because I remember at the most, I think I was taking 5. And if I hadn't done those gradual increases or decreases, it would have been so hard to pinpoint which one was actually doing it. So has anybody else had successful changes, lifestyle changes, specifically regarding nutrition, maybe that has helped lower your seizures?
I
So no,
suppose.
no keto diet success stories today.
Uh, well, not the keto diet. I mean, I think the keto diet is for people who have really bad seizures. I don't think it's, if you have moderate epilepsy, I think it's just for extreme epilepsy, I've read.
For
Um,
kids too,
I
right?
I I did it for 18 months, about a decade ago. The modified Atkins diet is what yeah. Um, and it was tough and it didn't really help me, unfortunately.
right.
And then when I stopped it, um, I gained a ton of weight and went to doctors for a long time, endocrinologists, and got a bunch of blood work. And my cortisol levels were the highest that my endocrinologist had ever seen in a patient. So it was kind of like a wow, why would I do that to my body again
Right.
type thing. Like that's dangerous type situation. Yeah.
Yeah, you wonder if the risk to your body is worth it for moderate epilepsy, or I mean, because it does, it takes a toll on your body. it really hurts your organs. It takes a toll on your kidneys and other organs and stuff. You get kidney stones, and from what I've heard, you're at risk for stuff like that. But the whole point of it is to change your metabolism to a certain ketoacidosis, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's DK. It's that. Well, for me, it's ketoacidosis, and I was gonna say I literally don't know what I'll do. Probably start levitating into space, and I won't have to worry about any sickness because I'm just waiting. It hasn't happened yet. It will. Someone's gonna go. My cousin cured her epilepsy with the keto diet, and I'm gonna scream because it literally will put me into DK, which would kill me. So I'm just like ready to begin to levitate.
yeah.
I'm
I feel
irritated
like
just thinking
if
about it.
you're
And that's
like
why
that's
it's
off the table
dangerous.
if you're dealing with
Yeah.
diabetes. But I mean, while I was doing it, it was fairly it felt benign. You're just testing your urine and ensuring that your body is producing ketones in an adequate range and that you're not eating more than 20 carbs a day, which you get from vegetables. And reading every single label that there is for every food, and it's just tough to get enough calories in, honestly. Yeah, because it's so restrictive. um and I feel like the theme that a lot of people might I actually, besides doing that, have not received any advice in terms of diet or nutrition, which kind of sucks. But it's just like the importance of eating regularly is more probably important. And that's something that I've actually like struggled with more recently on certain medications that suppress appetite. And on the keto diet where it's like, oh, I don't have eggs and bacon. What am I gonna eat? Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about Angel. You said you're on the Mediterranean diet. How's that going?
It's really good. I didn't do it for epilepsy. It was actually because of liver problems, but it's like I think it connects, It definitely connects. I seen less seizures over time. I think stress definitely is a factor to seeing more in my situation, but it's just like I definitely became a whole different, and
I'm not,
No, but I'm standing up for you.
I'm going in
So you
and
don't have to hold it.
I'm going in and
Okay.
like it definitely helps with the memory because the Mediterranean diet. Am I still on?
Yep.
Okay. Like one of the things the Mediterranean diet, it focuses on that area of the Mediterranean area. So they eat a lot of fish and like chicken. So fish is good for them, the B12 and stuff. That's good for the memory. So
Yeah,
it was
I gotta keep telling people. I started this B12 like 2 weeks ago, and
B12.
I haven't had a
so
seizure. I mean, I haven't had a focal. That just blank thing. I haven't had those since I got those about 3 weeks ago. 2 a day.
yeah,
I
it's
take three
just
a
a
day.
natural way.
Yeah, I used to catch myself just staring at stuff, and like I said, the B12, I haven't did that. I haven't had the staring focals, and I'm gonna blame it on that. So You guys want to look into that? Nature Made.
3,000? 3,000?
3,000. Mike, is it MCG? Was that micrograms?
Okay.
I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nature Made. If you see this, I'm looking for sponsors. Anyhow, let's move forward. Kate?
The Nature B complex, it's like all of them. I forget why. One of my diabetic doctors, not like my endo, but a diabetic doctor had told me to be careful with the B12, but I forget why. So,
I've also heard
I was told that the B12, well, the medication kind of takes the B12 out of our system. So it says take 2, so I take 3. Yeah, 1 midday, 1 morning, 1 night. But yeah, next.
Sounds like I should up my B12.
Yeah, it's going pretty good for me. I have nothing bad to say about the B12 from Nature Made right now. It's been
So
good
what's
from
the
day
most
one.
kind of out there treatment that anyone has ever heard of? I mean, for me, I am an RNS patient. I had the craniotomy, the implant. I know we've got a couple other VNS patients here. So what is the most kind of unexpected treatment that's ever actually done any good besides medication?
I don't have a VNS, so I'm just waiting for someone to respond. I don't have VNS, RNS, no S.
So do any of our other implant patients, I mean, did you kind of do the research and bring it up to them, or did doctors approach you? I think Kevin's got a VNS, right?
Yeah.
I got a VNS, but I ain't got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I had a video EEG when I was 17 at NYU, and then I got a second opinion when I was like 22 at Mayo Clinic. And they did like a ictal spect and kind of a whole workup. And gave a recommendation at Mayo that I should get a VNS. So the following year got one. That was like over 10 years ago. I have to decide if I'm gonna get a new generator, a new implant, or my epileptologist told me like it might have done its job. So I might be done with the VNS now that I have the DBS in as well. That's how I landed on the and obviously just having gone through, so many medications up until that point, I was classified as drug resistant already.
Okay, so the main theme then in all of us that have had the implants had to get that drug resistant label first.
Which is easy to get. I mean, it's
Okay.
like failing two medications. And I'm not sure if it's solely like, oh, they didn't adequately control your seizures. I mean, you could also fail a medication if the side effects were horrible.
What do they consider drug resistant epilepsy? How many of us are on medication and are still having seizures?
All of us?
Okay, so we're all drug resistant then, right?
I know. I always like bug out when they say like, you're reading on epilepsyfoundation.com or something like that. And they're like 30% of patients are drug resistant. I'm like, it's way higher than that.
It's why, yeah, higher than that.
Yeah. I mean, there are people that they end up in the ER, had a seizure, had their second seizure, they're prescribed Keppra, and they never have another seizure. There are those patients, I'm sure, and we just don't encounter them maybe. But
I've run into a
brain
few.
surgery and a VNS.
I'm on my 10th medication, and if you count marijuana, that's 11.
Right. I count it.
I
So
lost
do
count.
I. It's amazing. I respect it very much now. Yeah.
Only
So
thing that
welcome to
helps
the
me.
Yeah, I've lost count the amount of medications I've been on. I mean, I don't even keep track of them anymore.
Luckily, I've only been on 3. I started on Dilantin.
I started on phenobarb.
Me both, Pookie.
After Dilantin, I went to Keppra, and everybody talks about the Keppra rage, but I don't remember because I was a teen. I just went about my life and kind of gave up on caring about it. I was just like, I'm just gonna live my life and not let it bother me. But it bothers you. It's like that friend that's there, and one day he just pulls up like, "You miss me?" You wake up at the emergency room.
Are you playing inside around?
Yeah. Yeah.
So welcome to the meeting, Sia. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I was gonna say that too. I seen that pop up. Hi, Sia.
Hello.
Hey there, glad to have you. So usually we start introductions by just asking what you're taking for epilepsy, or if you're a patient at all, you know, maybe just here to learn. Oh, okay, I see. You're on mom duty. So you are totally off the hook. And at this point then, did anybody else really have anything to contribute on the subject of medication resistance? Because I was surprised to find out after they put me on Keppra down here that I had taken it, you know, years ago and stopped for whatever reason. So the neurologist that took a look at the file must have thought maybe I just didn't start at a high enough dose and brought it back.
I'm curious if anyone has revisited a medication that they've taken before and had any success with it. Because I'm currently I'm on 2 medications, Vicompa and Zonegran. And after I went on Zonegran, I realized like, oh, I took that for like a year in college.
By any chance?
Um,
Scissor.
and I asked my epileptologist, like, okay, where from here? Because I've been on so many, like, and he told me like Felbamate would be the next step, and I'd have to get my blood checked every 2 weeks for a year. But I had some success with Lamictal and some other drugs. It's just nothing's ever like great. I always have breakthroughs.
Okay, how about your experience, Anne?
Yeah, I totally forgot what, the drug resistant. Yeah, they determined that for me in 2016, which is why when we were talking earlier, Kate, I went back a decade in the last 5 years. So that's why I'm on a mission. And but yeah, that was determined for me in 2016, and I was offered the VNS, but I'm not sure why I didn't do it, other than it wasn't the constant pulse. It could only be activated, and I lived alone, so it wasn't practical. And now I would reconsider that. So, you know, and that's something that has come up. But as far as medication, I digged through my records like a badger, literally, and I don't see that I ever tried Dilantin. So that's another consideration, maybe as an adjunct. But yeah, the something to revisit that I haven't tried though is, you know, no, I've done that twice. It wasn't a good, yeah, wasn't a good thing. That's when I found out no Keppra for me. I was taking lamotrigine, and something about the Keppra brought on the rash. So that was that, you know, that's when they said, okay, you're drug resistant, because by then it was my 4th and 3rd combination. So, and that was in 2016. So now I'm revisiting the idea of, the updated VNS. I don't think we would have to go as far as RNS, even though we were considering it, at least to do the intracranial. And that's scary enough. I'm like, I don't know, looking at that whole idea now. I'm 64, all that I've gone through in the last 5 years. Yeah, the psychogenic tonic-clonic seizures in the emergency rooms just aren't showing up really well for these people right now. So yeah, something to revisit is the VNS for me, but I only have, I think, maybe two options. Ficampa is out of the question for me, and I don't remember the other two, because I'm not even considering them. I've taken all of the available for focal to tonic-clonic. And basically, I know the Vimpat for me has controlled the tonic-clonics. So, and those are the most horrifying because I kind of gradually, it's like climbing a mountain, they just kind of progress. And if I don't stop it, it goes really bad, like it did Wednesday. So yeah, but yeah, I'm considering the VNS, but I realized today I've never tried Dilantin. So that's something I'm going to explore. So yeah.
Okay, SailorMom, what do you know about the topic?
Well, I've got at least 8 failed meds and maybe more. These are the ones I could dredge up from the records I could get a hold of. But I am on Dilantin right now, and I have to say that it has worked better and had less side effects than, like Vimpat, oxcarbazepine, Lamictal, Sinomate, Excopri, some other things. And the Epidiolex works pretty good too. But yeah, I understand the medication resistance. They're always, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to change something soon. Something else soon. So yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, that's the other thing about this condition I think we can probably all agree on is that it's never, I don't want to say it's never truly controlled because we have seen people who go years without, but it's never completely cured from my perspective.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think, Al?
Yeah, I was gonna agree with your point because I've been on several medications and several of them haven't worked. But in 2022, I was on cenobamate for a year and I was completely seizure free. Like I had nothing, no focals or no tonic-clonics, and then all of a sudden everything just came back. And the doctor's response was, well, you've probably hit a threshold at, the certain, I was taking, I think 150 milligrams per day at that point. So we just increased it to 250, which I'm on that now, but I'm mixing it with a benzo, which is clobazam or Onfi, I think it's in the States. And like something that it's like a side rant. Something that the doctors didn't tell me, but that I found out in literature after was that taking those two medicines together can actually increase the level of like clobazam in your blood to a very high level. So you end up having like maybe like 5 to 10 times the amount of um, clobazam in your blood. So if you're taking like 20 milligrams a day, it's as if you're taking like 100 or something, or something crazy. So right now I'm still taking both of those, and I'm still not controlled, and I'm having, you know, several seizures. So it's like it's very frustrating because there's that, but then on the other side, on the other hand, there's the side effects of, like, you know, the memory, which is the worst one for me, I think. And I guess the sedation that the meds do, and that's why I was, you know, like the next step is potentially considering VNS, but I don't know. I don't want to deviate the topic, but I'm just curious if any, like, for the people who have done VNS, um, has it been successful for you? As in, would you recommend it?
Well, just to respond to that question real quick, I don't have the VNS, but the RNS is similar. I mean, in not exactly how it functions or where it's located, but you know, to accomplish the point, if they're recommending VNS for you, I think that has to do with how many foci, I think is the plural form there are. And essentially just look into it, because they did recommend the RNS for me, and it has my tonic-clonics are shorter, there's less breakthroughs, and incontinence hasn't been an issue in 4 years, so they're definitely less severe.
Okay.
I was talking and the mic was on mute, but I was saying, Al, you can deviate as much as you want to. I got time.
No,
Yeah.
that
That is why we're all here, trust me. The side
I've been
rants
here
are the
for,
best part.
I've been here for 10 hours one time. Just
no,
we
so
going through this.
yeah.
We learned
I,
so much in all that time, and it just keeps going and going, and just
I,
deviate as much as you want to. Deviating might teach somebody something, or they might be like, "Oh yeah, I've been through that. I didn't know it was that." That's where deviating helps other people.
I appreciate that. I'm sorry. I'm a bit shy. It's my first time on one of these calls, so like I'm just
Understandable.
No apologies. I mean, honestly, discussing all these medical implants, I'm probably this is the kind of information that I'm supposed to stay up to date on. And if we weren't talking about it for, I only was my first meeting was like a week ago, and if I hadn't, had a reason to research the RNS again, I would have totally forgot that I'm supposed to be swiping the magnet too. So yeah, we're definitely learning every time. What were you gonna say,
Yeah.
Angel? Oh
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say in relations to the like doing medications multiple times. Well, first of all, I did start on Dilantin, like Pookie, but they had me on Tegatrol after that, and Carbatrol, which are in the same family. Basically, it's a carbazepine now. Like that's what they give them as. And they did Lamictal, and I guess like a pair up with Lamictal, and then Depakote after that. The Depakote, I went 3 years free of seizures, and then um it was my previous neurologist. He's the one that had me on Keppra. He put me on Lamictal with the Keppra, and once the breakthroughs started happening and everything, it was just like keep raising up the dosages, and it got to the point where he put up the Lamictal dosage, and everything was getting worse. Like I can feel myself getting the anger and everything from the Keppra. I didn't know it was the Keppra at that time, but reading about it and hearing everybody's stories, yeah, it's like that's what it was.
Yeah, 2020 hindsight is definitely something I think we can all vouch for on this one. Tom, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna chime in about the VNS. I've had the VNS for about 10 plus years. I have noticed the difference. My tonic-clonics are fewer. I think if I would take the magnet off the refrigerator more often and swipe it when I have an order, it might even be more effective. But yes, my tonic-clonics are less, and I think my focals and such aren't even as bad as they used to be. In fact, last night I was actually able to uh, breathe through a focal. I just sat down, was relaxed, and watching TV and talking to my wife, and it went away.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I think I can also comment on the BNS. I was going through my medical records, and I think it was 8 years ago. I'm 6 years seizure free. It can seem frustrating at first. The uh, Many people are frustrated with the BNS because it does not work right away. It does not work, uh, instantly. But I think some people, I don't know how long it might take for some people, but for me, it took about a year and a half, and then my tonic-clonics stopped. I can't explain that. It was excellent work by my neurologists. They kept fine-tuning it, and but my myoclonics became less and less, less and less. Uh, they became less.
Frequent?
What's the word? Powerful. They became less powerful over the years, and now I don't have those anymore. So, uh, pretty much, yeah, it'll be 7 years in November. So, yeah, these are very, very controlled. So I would say the VNS is very effective for me
Yeah, congrats on
in
that.
combination with the medicines. And I don't know uh, what was it? The what were we talking about earlier about
The other implants, medication resistance, doctors not
med
knowing anything.
medication resistance.
Okay.
I don't know how resistant I've become to medications because I've been taking Depakote for a long time, but I don't know. We'll see about that. I want to get off Topamax because the side effects. I'd like to get back on Decapra or something. Try something else.
So at this point, since you're considered controlled, do you go back every 6 months or once a year?
Once a year now.
Oh, wow. Okay. All
Good
right,
for
what's up,
you.
Nate?
Yeah, I was just gonna comment on how the VNS has been effective for me. It hasn't really changed the frequency of my seizures, but definitely the intensity over time. And yeah, for the VNS, when I got it implanted, it was presumed that I had generalized seizures. Like there's no need for any foci or anything to be identified. It's just essentially back channeling the vagus nerve to the brain stem and electricity over time. Same with any of the other devices like the DBS or any neuro. Excuse me, it's going off right now. um any neuromodulation device, the way my neurosurgeon has explained it to me, is just electricity to the brain to over time fuck up your seizure network, if you will. um and just kind of like dissipate it because when you have seizures repeatedly, it's just imagine like a lightning storm that's just kind of getting baked in and baked in, and now it's much more like, hey, it's there. There's a roadway that a seizure can just go through, and um, with these neuromodulation devices over time, and that's about a year, 2 years. It's just electricity like breaking those roads away.
Mm.
So for me, um, what's been very nice, while I have the same frequency, it's been prior to the VNS, my seizures would kind of start in a very hazy, like, hello, darkness, my old friends, not aura, but like
Yeah.
dream state. Something's very wrong. Oh shit. And like looking around, and I would have a memory of that, and they were much more intense with like the musculature. I was sore for days all over my body. Now I'm not, and it is essentially, pure awakeness to waking up from a nap is my experience. So that day and night is change in seizure experiences. I would re-up for that in a heartbeat.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds like a total 180
Yeah.
to feel like you're waking up from a nap instead of that the pain not only for days but in like the weirdest places. Mine was like behind the knee. That was so annoying to me just to feel it there every time you take a step. Okay, so Sia,
Yeah.
now that you're back, how do I pronounce your name correctly?
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. I'm a bit shy, sorry, and I might be a little confused because I just had a bunch of seizures last night. But it is Sia, and I have two kiddos, married, and I've been dealing with this for about a year.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear it sounds like you have a support system in place. When you say dealing with this, is it resurfaced, gotten worse, or actually like just recently diagnosed?
Well, so just recently diagnosed because I finally found a neuro to take me seriously. But for the last year, since July 2024, Um, I 2 days after post-op lap surgery for endometriosis, I suddenly started having seizures, and it was insane. It scared the shit out of everybody. My mom was there. My husband thought I was dying. It was terrifying. I don't recall any of it, but they told me all about it, and I ended up in the ER. I woke up while I was in the ER. I had monitors all over me. Apparently, I had started hemorrhaging severely, a lot of blood. They nicked me during the surgery, and I just started bleeding like crazy. I went down to, I think it was like a 4. I don't remember what kind of unit that is, but I remember them telling me a little bit about it, and I was 2 below getting a blood transfusion, but they didn't want to do it because of other medical complications that could have caused. So they ended up doing like iron transfusions, and I spent 4 days in the hospital having seizures for 3 days straight. They wouldn't medicate me. They treated me as if I wasn't actually having seizures, despite the fact that I was. And it was all because they couldn't find anything on the 30-minute EEG that they did. And so they diagnosed me with PNES. I dealt with that for the last year, trying to figure out what that even meant. And I went, kept having surgery, or not surgery, sorry, seizures for months and months. In November, I got hospitalized again after I drove myself to a cardio appointment, and I had a seizure in the lobby and then had 2 more while I was in the ER. And they gave me Keppra for the first time. And guess what? It stopped my seizure. And
Hello.
I know. And so, and you know what was hilarious about that is that they still diagnosed me yet again with PNES. And I was like, bro, I'm losing my mind here. Like, I'm trying to explain to them that my mental history from when I was, 16, 17, I was a child, had nothing to do with this sudden outburst of seizures. Like, they would just refuse to listen to me. And then, it got to the point where I almost killed my whole family driving because I almost got into a car accident while having a tonic-clonic while driving. And my husband, thankfully, he got into action quickly. He stopped the car, he pulled us off to the side, pulled my foot off the brake. But like at that point, me and him were both like, okay, no, this is it. Like we don't want this to be a thing in our lives anymore. We need to find a way to get help. And so we moved to a new place, started getting new doctors. And I had just had my first visit with my PCP back in, I think that was either March or I think it was March, yeah. And she told me for the first time, "Do you know anything about epilepsy?" And I was like, "No, I have no idea what you're talking about." And she was like, "Okay, well, I reviewed all of your medical records, and I think you have a high case here for, epilepsy." I was like, okay, what do I do then? So she referred me out to a neurologist, but lo and behold, that neurologist hadn't no available, appointments for not until September of this year. And I was gonna have to wait for months, and I was freaking out about it. I was so stressed out. I was so scared. And finally in April, I say finally, but it was a really shitty situation. I was on my period. Well, was about to start my period. It was a few days before I was about to start my period. And I started having status. My husband, he knew I wasn't feeling very good that day. He was trying to keep a close eye on me while, caring for our kids. And I ended up falling. I hit my head on the floor really hard. I had 9 seizures in, I think, 20 minutes.
God.
And the EMTs came, they administered Versed. I was completely out for hours, and they gave me Keppra. And, they were like, okay, well, there's not much else that we can do here, so we're just going to discharge you once I regain my consciousness back. And I was so freaking out of it, but I was like, okay, I'll keep waiting for a neurologist. I'll just, try and hope I survive this. And the next day, actually, I around 10 p.m., so this was more than 12 hours after getting the Keppra that they gave me in the hospital. Um, it was almost 24 hours, I think, yeah. But I started going into status again, and I had 7 seizures in 20 minutes. So they came back, they administered Versed again, stopped the seizures. I got Keppra while I was at the hospital, and I had no idea what the hell was happening, but they life flighted me to another hospital 4 hours away. I get there, and I'm stuck in the ER for 13 hours, I think it was. And by the time they admitted me up to the neuroscience floor, I was soaked in urine. I hadn't been medicated. I had not been given any food or water. I had bruises all over my body. I was so I I looked dead. And when my husband got there, he was so terrified. He was arguing with them and yelling at them, and they were just like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on," And
Honey, you need a lawyer.
trust me, I know. I know. I've been looking into it. I just got an attorney finally for my disability, but
You need Anne.
Yeah, let's talk. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I think we talked. I'm Diane. I'm the Diane. I can't even say it, which is why I have it as a name. Dynamically disabled, because I still have a lot of capability. Yeah. Same, pretty much the same.
That assumed
Um,
PNES and pushing that and just sweeping it under the rug as PNES
Yeah.
is the first thing
and
that caught
I've
my
got
attention.
3 sets of wings. Okay. I got my wings, and I'm afraid I'm going to get them again soon because of the same shit. So feel free to put your camera on anytime, sister. Okay. We're
Thank
here
you.
for
I
you.
really appreciate that. Like last night, I was almost 2 months TC free finally after being put on the Keppra. And I had my husband doesn't know how many exactly, but I had multiple focal seizures last night, which then eventually turned into a full-blown tonic-clonic at the end of it. And it was my first tonic-clonic, and like I said, almost 2 months, and it scared the shit out of me too. I
Can I ask you? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Saya, but this is important. Are they getting worse? Your tonic-clonics, are they lasting longer? Are they more intense? And are they more difficult to recover from?
This one, like the one that I had last night, it felt very different. It felt more like today I'm trying to get through my day. I'm a mom, a stay-at-home mom. My husband works, and like I can't think. I keep screwing up on stuff. I'm I just feel like I'm not even here today, and my head still feels so sore because I had the worst pain that I have ever had ever yesterday. Like I get the pain in the right side of my head. It's this part just above my right ear and just a little bit in front of it, like right on my side, the side of my temple, and it gets so severe, but this was the worst it had ever been. And I couldn't see anything. My vision just went black, couldn't see anything. I was hallucinating, and then boom, I was out. And I woke up this morning like, oh my God, something bad really happened because I was in so much pain when I woke up this morning. My tongue's all fucked up, and I just I still don't even know how I'm here, man. Like it
Well,
I
this
don't know.
might be why you're here. Okay. This might be exactly why you are here. And this is exactly why we are here. Thanks, Pookie.
Yeah, seriously.
Sorry, but I know we
Thank you,
can't do
Pookie.
this on Reddit, but yeah, I really want you to get something that will help you that in the interim. But right now, I really, really would like you to go to the Epilepsy Foundation website and find the nearest epilepsy center. And if you tell them this story, they will admit you immediately. Okay, we understand this. I've progressed to what is called non-convulsive status epilepticus. And it's gone unnoticed a few too many times. So I don't want that happening to you. I also want you, when you reach out to them, you need to let them know that you need help. But if you have family, friends, anybody close to you, because even before you do any of that, you definitely need to cover, as Tom calls it, we have to set our foundation. And this is going to be a foundation for you. You have to have a physical support system right now, people that can help you, okay? But you absolutely need to go to an epilepsy center as soon as possible.
Thank you so much for that, because I've never Like
Okay.
That's the problem. Nobody, you don't get that. No one tells you anything.
Okay, so there's a
Again,
link in
as
the
Ann
chat.
said, this is where you should
Yeah,
be.
thanks, Kate. Yeah.
Yeah, so the quickest link
Sarah,
in
we
the
get it.
chat, and Anne is the one to go to for literally the play-by-play, but it sounds like most immediately, just to get your bearings and even be able to think about what to do next, treatment is the first step, and find that epilepsy center so that they can, get something on record, at least get you on the right medication or the right dose. And I mean, just out of curiosity, how young are your children? Are you breastfeeding?
No, I'm not
Okay.
breastfeeding. But my daughter, she's 2, my son is 4,
Okay.
and yeah, it's
We
I
got you.
don't it's
Absolutely.
hard, because
No.
my mom, she doesn't understand it. We live with her right now for extra support because my husband has to work, and she just this morning she was telling me, well, you should get off the medication. Then I'm like, I'm on the medication for a reason. And I don't want to do that because it's helping me, but it's not my fault that it's still happening, like
Right.
it's so hard for other people who have never experienced this,
Yeah.
never heard of it, never seen it. Like they don't understand, and I've been dealing with that from my family, my husband's family, and
Yeah.
he's the only person that has been there for me through it all. And so it's been hard for us. My neurologist is 4.5 hours away from us, so um we've been having to do our trips down there, and I have an MRI with contrast for the first time coming up soon, and an in-office EEG, which they've only ever been done in the hospital. So um I am hoping that that he's able to find more answers for me, but so far the only thing he's been able to give me is just, you know, I think it's RTLE, and that you have a tumor in the right side of your brain. And it's scary, but like just being told finally that somebody, is finally listening to me, and is finally taking me seriously. And he laughed at the PNES diagnosis. So I I was just shocked. But I do think that at this point, for us, like you what you guys were saying, I do think that more should be done for right now, because like the Keppra, it's been nice, it's been helpful, and I was only having focals for a short amount, for about 2 months almost. But with that TC last night and the severity of the swelling on the right side of my face, which is still swollen today. My husband said my eye, it was completely bloodshot, bright red. He could barely see the iris of my eye, like as if I was like, he thought it was blood at first, but I don't know what it could have been. Um, but the swelling was so bad, he said he's never seen swelling like that in my eye before. So I think at this point, I'm gonna have to agree with you guys, and I'm gonna tell him when he gets home today that we're gonna go to an epilepsy center.
I was reading your post as you were. Well, I was reading it before you started, and then when you started, I was like, okay, hold on, this is her. I didn't read the
Yeah,
name because
yeah,
I didn't read the name at first, but then I was like, eventually I'm gonna tune in and ask her, tell me what this is about. But you explained it, what it was about. You wrote a novel with that one, saying I have a shitty day.
yeah, yeah. It's a shitty day, man.
Yeah, it was a lot to read, but it was interesting. And then you started talking about the rest of it, so I was like, damn. Hearing you talk about it was different, but yeah, like I said, you wrote quite a novel here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
The
feel like after so long, I feel like I have to explain myself so much, because like I always feel like whoever I talk to is not gonna believe me, you know?
Yeah, I
We
know.
believe
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it
Write it
sounds,
down. Write it down. You want to
Yeah.
write it down because you're going to need it. And I know it sounds silly, but
No, I
if you,
completely agree with you because I do the
yeah,
same thing for my other two chronic conditions. I have endo stage 2 and adenomyosis stage 4. And
okay. Yep.
I started journaling about the midway mark between this last year since July 24.
Yeah.
Because I was
But
like,
like a
okay,
short, yeah, short version of your story, like you just gave us.
yeah,
Um, yeah, not the whole journal because the doctor's not going to look at that. And you want to give them as much
yeah, just the
information
synopsis.
in the shortest amount of time. So yeah, we got to get you ready for that epilepsy center. But
yeah,
yeah, call and make an appointment. But I'm very concerned. I'm not a medical professional, but I'm pretty well versed in epilepsy, and I've gone through what you're going through. And I'm the one that said, yeah, I think I'm having that going on right now because I recognize the phases that these seizures go through.
yeah.
And what happens is the entire brain um, goes from, well, you go from a focal to a tonic clonic, and then you recover, you know, or you have another one and another one in your status. But to somebody like you and me, what we call an interictal is in between our tonic clonics, but they're not talking about what's going on that brings us to that tonic clonic.
Right.
So this is part of my mission. And the diagnosis of psychogenic non-epileptic seizures is a very ambiguous, non-clinical garbage bag
Yeah,
that
it
they're
just felt
using.
like every time they said that, it was just to get me out quicker because I
Yep,
was just taking up space.
yep. So I have I'm gonna catch you up quick because I can't put this on Reddit. I have a complaint, a valid complaint, with one of the epilepsy centers for doing this to me after having 13 years of treatment for valid clinical evidence diagnoses of all of the symptoms that they're saying no, it's psychogenic. Non-convulsive status epilepticus is not psychogenic. I have scars in my esophagus. Okay. I've been intubated so many times. My voice doesn't, it's not my voice anymore. So, I get it. So that's why I seem so passionate, but I feel you. I literally have felt exactly what you have going on. So I want you to just pay attention, take care of yourself. You need to find a way to be calm. As hard as that is,
Yeah.
just stay calm and just we got you. Let us catch you. We got you. And we're here, it's hard. This is it's very, very personal to me, which is why when I read that story, I'm like, oh girl, oh yeah, I get it. And I don't know what's happening as far as this misused misdiagnosis, especially with people like you who are in a critical are you're actually in a very tough situation. I don't even want to say too much, but it's happening too much, and I want to help stop that. And if we can if we can be here for you, we can start getting, at least giving you support. And man, wow, all of you guys, really. I had to hear all this tonight, but Saya, I really, really am. I've got you in my heart. Okay.
Thank you
So
so much.
yeah, you're not alone. We got you. I lived it more than once, and I'm like everybody knows what have I been saying. That TC is knocking on the door. I'm not joking. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I was
Yes,
like,
yeah.
I was so hopeful, man.
Feeling those seizures go on for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is no damn joke.
When they can't separate the lines on your EEG and they just throw it out. It's like, we don't know what's going on. It's all black. Yeah. Yeah. Back to black. Ain't my favorite thing. So I do everything I can. If you get your hands on some high potency CBD, full spectrum, and don't just
I
swallow
do
it.
have some of that. I do.
Yeah, make sure you get a sublingual buccal dose. If you can get some RSO, just a little tiny quarter of a grain of rice size, and that will help calm you down. It will help slow this down in a very natural way, because that's the first thing your brain is craving is your endocannabinoids. We actually make them ourselves. We just don't get enough of them anymore. So, help your body get enough of those. Get enough rest. Don't worry, we got you. I think I'm going to give you my phone number on a message in Reddit. But we're just about at the same place. I'm starting to get some tremors. And I had Nazilium, the Medalazam in my nose on Wednesday, and the tremors aren't going away. So, and this is all because of the lack of sleep. So I'm kind of experienced with this. I got this. But I just don't want you to experience anything more than you have to. So we're here for you.
Thank you so
Glad
much.
you're here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, see, every time I introduce somebody to Ann, I always say everybody needs an Ann in their life.
I would like to hear more about tremors, and because I have been dealing with tremors, and my neurologists have told me that it's probably due to a reaction to medications. And that's all I've been told so far. And they've hold on, I'm getting
It's all right, girl.
sorry, I was getting something on my computer. So yeah, so I've been having tremors, and they've been, yeah, they've just been telling me it's related to medications, and they kind of left it at that and haven't told me anything about it since then. And we're kind of just like, oh, if it gets bad enough that you can't deal with it, let us know. And haven't talked to me about it since. And it's getting to the point where it's really a lot to deal with. My wife does crochet. This is gonna sound stupid, but my wife does crochet. And she was trying to teach me the other day, to try to, so I could have something to try to get my strength back up after the whole hospital stay thing, and also just to have something to keep me busy while I'm listening to podcasts. And I couldn't do it because of the tremors. So it's just getting to the point where it's really bugging me. And so I'm curious, and what you were saying about tremors, is it possible that that has a different cause than what they're saying it is?
Okay, I'm having some technical difficulty with my camera right now, but what I'm seeing about the tremors,
Sorry. Yeah.
involuntary. Okay. Anne's back. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
Anne, you want to
guys.
take the
I
lead on
had to
this
go
one?
potty.
No problem. No
Um,
problem. All right. So Reese
it,
wanted to know about the tremors. Can you just go into more
yeah,
detail on
no, I
that?
had my
Okay.
headset, or yeah. Just like the brain and all of our different epilepsy stories, um, the central nervous system is fascinating, and a lot of different things can happen. So some are medication interactions, not necessarily a, negative, interaction, but it just can cause an overexcitement in the peripheral nervous system. Or it could be nerve damage in a more centrally localized place, such as the brain or spinal cord. So I have the pleasure of having both. So in that case, because there's really no drug interaction because I was only taking 2 of the 5. And so now I'm down to 1. And it's like, okay, so it's not a drug interaction. And guess what? It got worse after we dropped that 1. So I'm like, okay, guess what? I know what to do. I can, this is Zoom. We're Zooming here. And I don't care if Big Brother gets it. I don't, because he don't get it. So for tremors, in my case, such as Parkinson's, especially Parkinson's, I have a video of this guy that literally he couldn't even talk. His jaw was shaking. And he's like, okay, let's just chew on a couple of these. All right. And this is how bad my tremor is right now. Okay. I cannot pick up my cup of tea. I can barely drink out of my water bottle. So let's see. I'm going to hit the stopwatch. Usually takes about 15 minutes. This little piece should do it. And I just kind of let it sit under my tongue. I'm brave because it always gets there faster when it's like a sublingual or buccal dose. And I'll just leave it there until I can't tolerate it anymore. And the longer the better, because then that's the faster that's going to work. Usually within 15 minutes, that tremor will disappear. That tremor is also caused by the multiple foci that I have seizures in. And when I'm in a state like this, those seizures aren't stopped. They're just dancing around in my head, ready to start a party and just get together and have their party. And that's what I don't want them to do. So I'm just telling them to break it up. And, like the angry teenagers, they're going to pout and kick and scream, but the tremors will start to go away. And I know the way they are at the epilepsy center, they would have a morbid fit if they knew I was using shrooms. But I forgot to hit my stopwatch, but hey, here we go. Yeah, this only takes a few minutes. I can already feel, because I have it tucked up in my cheek and gum. I can take it. Wow. Oh, I shouldn't have waited so long. I shouldn't have waited this long. That's not even a minute, 2 minutes, because it's in between my cheek and gum. So it's considered a buccal sublingual. I'll just stick it under my tongue and blah, blah. But, I can already feel it just slowing down a bit. Cannabis only does so much, but the way psilocybin works, it goes right to the central nervous system, and it just shifts gears.
Amazing.
And it just depends on how far you want to go, up or down the hill. I just want to kind of hang out in the valley. It's not enough to make me trip. I would have to take 10 times what I took. So it's just enough to slow my brain down. So I don't have to take, what is that stuff? My Dialazam, the nasal. I hate that stuff. I haven't even recovered from that or that seizure, and here I am. I'm like, today, my daughter left before, my prime time in the morning, So it was like, oh, good thing she missed that one. But yeah, I was chatting with Kate all day. I'm like, whoa. Oh my gosh, Nazilium on a tongue bite? No, thank you. Okay, you may as well just throw acid on my face. That, yeah, I saw that in the message, but yeah, Saya, I'm so glad you're here. I am so, so grateful that you're here. But
Me too.
there are other ways to manage our epilepsy with and without pharmaceuticals. And I just do them both. The Vimpat keeps me from getting those really bad tonic-clonics that usually put me on a respirator. And I just don't want to do it again. And they don't want to listen to me. Well, okay, I was just using the wrong voice. So, but first and foremost, I have to be okay. And if they're not going to help me, I needed another way to do it. So I've been through all that, and I'm here to say I am so grateful that you guys are here, because really, it's just it's made such a difference. It's still hard for me to do, both the chat and the video, and it's like I'm going back and forth, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't realize how bad that tremor got until I almost dropped my pipe. Okay, so that's when it's time to do something. I don't want to drop my glass. Okay, she's very important to me, and so am I.
So
it's not-
are the tremors that are related to the brain, and well, I mean, I guess they're all related to the brain, but are your tremors do they come and go very mine, I have tremors all the time, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So does that mean it's probably more likely the medication, or is it still possible that it's something related to the epilepsy?
Yeah, mine, I don't think it's from the Vimpat, because that's all I'm taking for my epilepsy now. This is why I'm a raging maniac right now. It's like, uh-oh, yeah. So it's like, I know, like in some cases, it can be a medication interaction. Wow, that took about 5 minutes. Whew.
I'm just worried that they're gonna keep telling me that it might be my pills interacting and not do anything about it, and I'm just gonna have this tremor forever because I've had it for so long already, and it's just.
And they know about it. They know
Yeah,
about it, right?
exactly, and they're not doing anything.
Well, you have to hold them accountable, and that's why it's like, I think I think in the medical community, they use a lot of shame and fear when a patient confronts a provider with accountability. And what you would be doing is saying, wait, This has been a problem long enough. If you feel that this isn't something that you can help me with, I need you to tell me that. But if it is something that you can, I need that help now. Otherwise, I need to definitely exercise my patient rights and just, kind of let your boss of the boss's boss know, and you report it to the State Department of Health. But when you do that, doctors are like, oh, it gets around, but it gets done more than you think. There's one advantage that we have as patients is that it's 100% anonymous. The doctor will never know that it was you. And they will throw it in your face. If you're a problem patient, you confront them like you need to and say, we've had this conversation before. I need you to do something, either offer me an option for treatment or, at least give me an idea what's causing it. You shouldn't have to have that conversation more than twice. So, kind of going into your appointment, and the first thing you need to do is have an adult conversation with your doctor. And don't let them feel threatened, and don't let them make you feel dismissed. Yeah, I'm clustering. But don't let them shame you in any way, because it isn't about them. And I know that a lot of doctors do that, especially to us. I hear that a lot. Oh, my doctor, said this or said that. I'm not the only one with this story, So don't let a doctor say, oh, well, what would you know? Or, gaslight you in any way, and just go in with a plan. The first thing you want to talk about is the first thing that's on your mind. And that's usually what the doctor wants. You're ready. It's like, we've had this discussion several times and it's become a problem for me. And how is it a problem? And if he doesn't think that's enough of a concern, ask him why. Ask them why. So, you have to get those answers. And if you don't get them, or if they don't start diagnostics, which is what they probably will do, you can definitely report the doctor, but just let them know, I'm disappointed that we haven't done anything to resolve that. And make them personally and professionally. This isn't about a personal relationship. It's a professional relationship. And I know many times people get confused. It's like, oh, my doctor's my best friend. No, you don't want that. Mm-mm. So, it's like, yeah, I got to turn the chat off. Sorry, guys. But you need to go in prepared. And if you've already talked to him about this, or them, sorry. Yeah, you want a list of reasons why you feel something needs to be done for you.
I think
And
that's one of the hardest things that we have to deal with and learn as we go through this is how to be confident and advocate for ourselves. I am I'm a nervous Nelly, like I don't talk to strangers. I don't answer phone calls or make phone calls. I went to the doctor earlier this week, I think, and was like, oh, I think that this facial swelling might have to do with my thyroid. And she was like, there's no way that's it. It would be swelling on both sides of the face, and I just don't think that's it at all. And I had to be like, can we do the test, please? And my thyroid hormone levels are low, and we had to change my pills, and hopefully that's gonna help. And she didn't want to do the test. And you know, I have to learn that this is what I have to do. And that's one of the hardest things that we have
Yeah,
to.
but we shouldn't have to. We, of all people, okay, why are they challenging us so much, knowing that we already have this challenge? It is literally inhumane. This is exactly why the National Association of Epilepsy Centers exists. And I did not know that I was going to be here today. I didn't know that I would be the one doing this today. But when a patient reports an epilepsy center, it's a whole lot different when you report your doctor to the state. But we all have the right to report any doctor in or outside of an epilepsy center to the state. And this has to stop. And that's why it's like, they need to hear our stories. It's like, do they realize that they are creating part of this problem for us? That they are actually exacerbating our conditions? Regardless of our level, you know, it's just cruel and unprofessional. And I'm very disappointed in the community that I was so passionate to be part of. So yeah, it's I'm glad we're here to support each other, but these things should not be happening.
Well, and not to get whiny again. Well, I am getting whiny again, but I've told you all this is what I wanted to be doing. You know, I went to school for public policy, and I then saw that I wasn't able to get employed with just that, because everyone wants you to have 5 years of experience before you can get an entry-level job. And so I was thinking about going back to school again for law, because I'm that passionate. I want to do something for disability law and policy, and I want to help us, and I want to help people like us, and that is what I'm passionate about. You know, when I went to school for policy, I wasn't sure what kind of policy I wanted to be into. I spent most of my time in school focusing on voting rights and our just the way our voting system is laid out, because I felt like if we can't get our system, we can't get the right people making our laws, then what's the point? We're not going to get anything done. But ever since I've been dealing with this, I've wanted to be able to help individuals. And I'm just so frustrated that I'm not in a place yet where I can do anything because, you know, I have a doctor's appointment a week, and I hope that I get to a point where I can use the skills that I do have to help people.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot for us to come together from that, you know. We may not get paid for it, but we may never forget it. Yeah. Wow, guys, this was a good one for me. Nate, thank you so much. Saya, I'm so glad you're here. So glad you're here.
This is what does it. This is exactly what does it. Just hearing somebody else's stories and helping, trying to help it in any way possible. So,
yeah,
any perspective on why focals are just so much harder to control than the tonic-clonics? It seems like the tonic-clonics get under control faster.
Under control? What do you mean by under control?
Yeah. What does that even mean to us?
Right.
You know,
I
it means something different to all of us. It does. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
just considering under control as, a quarter. I have literally a quarter of as many tonic-clonics as I do partials every month. Or, in the perspective of a year, there's like probably 10 times as many partials than there are uh TCs. So I'm just wondering if it's just going to be this medicine game, this balance of guessing and trying out different triggers and, if it's going to be a total lifestyle thing, because my goal is to get off the meds entirely because I just don't trust anything that's not holistic at this point because I feel like I've been through it all and the long-term effects are being made public now and it's not good ever.
yeah,
I'm definitely going to have more comorbidities and probably have a shorter lifespan than I would if not on benzos and AEDs for, you know, for 30
Amen.
or 40 years. But
right.
yeah,
But that's, yeah,
that's just
that's
my
something
rant at
that,
this point. I don't even remember what I asked.
as far as controlling focals, versus TC.
Okay, right.
Um, but yeah, first I want to say, um, yeah, we all know that even with implants, you may never be seizure free. Once you have epilepsy, it they're just going to be there. It can happen anytime. In any level. Epilepsy it's not a spectrum disorder, but it is a disorder with a spectrum. From absence to status epilepticus, and everything in between. And we're hearing our stories. But the focals, I don't know. I think the hardest thing about focal seizures is they're really hard to pinpoint. And, up until the, I think they're calling them second generation or next generation drugs like Vimpat, Fycompa. All of those drugs are more targeted for focal to tonic-clonic. So, because we have both kinds, the most important part was to control the tonic-clonic because those are deadly. But the focal seizures, I don't know why they're so hard to control, because even now mine, and I know why mine are now. But I've asked the same thing, and it's like, is it because they go undiagnosed for so long? And, like Nate was saying, those pathways get embedded in your brain. And that's no joke. Okay. That is for real. You look at some of the imaging, and I want to get some of that imaging done. You can literally see like scarring in the brain. So you turn off that pathway, and that seizure is not going to have an easy ride anymore. So, but focal seizures are exactly that. They just find so many ways to just keep coming. And the longer you let them do that, the more pathways they create. So going undertreated or untreated, especially with focal epilepsies, which visibly seem less serious than a tonic-clonic, it is much more dangerous because we are the ones that can develop things like status epilepticus or non-convulsive status epilepticus. And those were all the things that, that we talked about when I was at Johns Hopkins. They're like, they are intent on educating you as a patient. And I took every minute of it in, and they kept bringing me back for more, for like, that was the best horrifying time of my life. But yeah, the physiology of the brain, you can only burn something so many times before it leaves a scar. And being so delicate, our neurons are burning the ones next to them. So you want to turn that off first. But yeah, focal seizures get tricky, and I don't know. I do know that there are some theories that they can be exacerbated by stress. PTSD, CPSD. So I have been doing some really tough work on that because I have both. And a lot of the PTSD is related to medical events, unfortunately. So, you know, that can be feeding those focals. And, you know, learning to control those emotions, those thoughts, it helps. But I don't understand the physiology enough to say why. But that's what I know from the one time I was considering the VNS. You know, we were actually talking about the IC electrodes. So, you know, it was like, oh, my background sucks. I just realized. But yeah, I don't know why they're harder to control. But I do know that when you have a condition like focal 2 bilateral tonic-clonic, that's pretty much a pretty chunk of the spectrum of epilepsy. You know, I watch you guys have focals. I mean, we all see each other doing this. We recognize it, you know, and that I'm grateful that that's what you guys are dealing with. Unfortunately, they come far too often. And that, you know, that's why we need medication. So, but why are they harder to control? I don't know.
So
Yeah.
just to feel like I'm in control at all, weaning off the meds is not the right way to do it. This RNS is doing its job maybe with the tonic-clonics, but the focals just happen just as much and more often, so still probably better off to replace than just stop one of them.
Yeah, that's what you need the medication for. Those focal seizures, and I don't know the anatomy of your focals. I started with just the left temporal lobe, and because I had interruptions in treatments, the same as I'm going through now, they can't find a foci. They cannot find a single foci. But they can see what they called an aura, and you can see it on the EEG. It's that, like I was telling Saya, it's the time in between our tonic-clonics, which is filled with focal seizures. Those are really hard to control. And, you know, I don't know if the VNS, if the new generation of VNS might be exactly what I need, but I don't know why. It's just, it's a mystery. It's a mystery.
Right.
But yeah, you need that medication, Kate, you really do.
All right, these conversations get deep, that's for sure. Did anybody else bring questions, you know, to the group today, or just have any more subjects that you would like to discuss?
I got some hate going on. As you know, I hate Kepler. When we get started,
Let it out.
I got one that says,